It is a global problem whose implications are trickling down to villages, respecting no boundaries, affecting peace, security, food production, our health, infrastructure, and most worrying, retarding efforts to fight poverty. Welcome to the show. That problem is climate change.
Farmers are directly contributing to curbing the global warming.
Now, Pope Francis, the man of the moment, or the person of interest, if you like, is passionate about that subject in the wider context of environmental conservation. We will tell you why.
In effect, a selfish and boundless thirst for power and material prosperity leads both to the misuse of available natural resources and to the exclusion of the weak.
Also in this show, your role in mitigation and adaptation to climate change.
Hatutumii kuni tena, tunatumia biogas peke yake.
Remember, the focus of this show is the Pope and environment, and we begin by looking at Kangemi, the only informal settlement in Kenya that is lucky to host the Pope. And of course, there are environmental issues there. Take a look. The Kangemi informal settlement is situated on the Nairobi-Naivasha highway on the outskirts of the city. It is in Westlands constituency. It is said to be home to about 100,000 people. Its southern border connects with Kawangware slums. To the east, it borders Mountain View, a middle-class estate. It also borders Westlands, as well as Loresho and Kibagare estates. In terms of living conditions, there are those who argue that Kangemi is not really a slum area as compared to the likes of Mukuru, Kibera and Mathare, which are much more congested with much more conspicuous poor housing conditions. But what is the difference between a slum and an informal settlement?
When you talk of informal settlements, you mean they have not been planned. But when you talk of a slum, you are describing the condition of the environment, which means that the place could have been planned initially, but over time, it begins to deteriorate, and you have houses looking very old. You look at the streets damaged, you look at the drains. That then makes it a sort of a slum. But invariably, because informal settlements always have poor conditions, so the informal settlements are slums, but not all slums are informal settlements.
In Kangemi, environmental issues are many. Area residents are concerned about the impact of poor sanitation on their health, and this comes at a time when the Pope is emphatic on the need for immediate action to save the poor from the consequences of inaction about environmental destruction.
Maji inakuwa shida, saa zingine ikipotea inakaa kwa muda mrefu. Alafu ukiangalia kama pahali penye tuko, ukiona kama hii sewage venye imekaa, ni sewage inaweza leta matatizo. Saa zingine unapata watu wengine wanaanguka hapo, watu wanatupa makaratasi ovyo ovyo, maji haiendi, uchafu unakuja, alafu hata harufu by the way hata unasikia venye iko, inatuumiza sana juu kama hii ni kama ugonjwa tumejiwekea hapa.
St. Joseph the Worker Catholic Parish is among the key players in efforts to transform lives in Kangemi. This is an aerial view of the church. Just like the Kangemi informal settlement itself, the church is now in international limelight thanks to the papal recognition.
In St. Joseph here, since we came in about 30 years ago, in fact this year, in May, we celebrated 30 years of the presence of the Jesuits in Kangemi. We started with the parish. We built a St. Joseph Technical Training Center, which mostly was to help the younger people from the slums to get some skills in the computers, in typing.
Kulingana na hiyo hospitali, tumeletewa hapa karibu tunaona hapa ni kuzuri sana. Wenye hawajui matibabu ya huku tunawaambia nao pia waweze kufika hapa ili waweze wakahudumiwa vizuri na kwa bei nafuu.
We have also St. Joseph Primary School. We have St. Joseph Sewing Women Project. We have St. Joseph Dory Craft. That's another department which helps the women to make some dory. We have also the office of Reatoto, Nyumbani Children's Home, to support the community.
We take care of the people infected HIV through the program of Uzima. We take care of the poor through the Upendo units. We educate the children who are marginalized.
Slums are found in almost all urban centers in the country. And here is a slideshow of some of them. Pope Francis is passionate about social justice and the urgent need to uplift the poor. In his address to the US Congress in September this year, the Catholic spiritual leader emphasized the importance of using numbers for the common good of humanity, emphasizing, quote, "We must not turn our back on our neighbors."
Let us remember the golden rule. Do unto others as you will have them do unto you.
Now, the Pope also comes from Argentina, where that country has some issues that African countries are going through. Issues connected with governance, issues of unemployment, issues of poverty. Of late, he has written about the environment. And in Kenya, we have the United Nations headquarters for the environment.
The Pope and environment. That is the focus of our show today, if you've just joined us. In May this year, he released the first papal encyclical, or call it letter, ever dedicated exclusively to the environment. And in it, the Pope states that the environment crisis is not only a scientific, political, and economic problem, but also a moral and spiritual challenge.
Environment, if not taken care of, will bring about poverty. And the Pope is very concerned about poverty, of course. But the one significance I see most is the symbolism of his choice of name. He chose the name Francis when he was elected. And Francis, I imagine he was picking on Francis of Assisi, who was himself some kind of an environmentalist. He took care of animals, he took care of the trees, and he sang about nature and so on and so forth. And that brings harmony and beauty to humanity, I think. I think that's what the Pope is about.
In his speech at the United Nations headquarters in New York this year, Pope Francis, who is 78 years old, condemned the craving for material gains and power and told world leaders that greed was destroying the earth's resources and aggravating poverty.
In effect, a selfish and boundless thirst for power and material prosperity leads both to the misuse of available natural resources and to the exclusion of the weak. Economic and social exclusion is a complete denial of human fraternity and a very grave offense against human rights and the environment.
We are discussing the Pope and environment with emphasis on his messages on climate change. This is a global problem that knows no boundaries, and still to come.
His ability to speak Africa to the world a few days before the Paris Climate Conference is not only meaningful but very symbolic.
The Earth is complaining by hitting back at us. It's our common responsibility as human beings, wherever we are, be it in Africa, be it in Europe, be it wherever, that we must care for the environment.
Right after the break.